Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist congregation of Frederick. It's good to see you all. It's good to be together in this very hard time. I'd like to begin with the words that I say with each Sunday service. They're the reasons that this congregation exists, that we gather together no matter what's happening. We gather to encourage spiritual growth, to encourage one another, to draw from all the world's religions, balanced with the insights of modern science. We gather no matter what is happening. We gather to build a diverse, multicultural, beloved community and to encourage and inspire one another to act for more peace and justice in the world. That all remains true in the wake of this or any election. It's also true that in the wake of most elections, I would not feel compelled to call together a last-minute emergency vigil. But this election has been particularly divisive. The anti-immigrant xenophobia, the blatant racism, the rampant misogyny, the cynical drumming up of transphobia, the threats to our democratic norms, have many people, including myself, rightly fearful about the future of our country. Bullies have been emboldened, and many basic human rights are endangered. In such a time as this, we need one another more than ever, and I'm grateful more than ever for such a place as this. We must continue to answer the call to love. We must continue to welcome immigrants, to be in solidarity with women, with people of color, with our LGBTQIA siblings, in particular, our trans siblings. Even in, or especially in, this hard time, if we seemingly must be on this particular journey, if it seemingly is our destiny to be on this particular timeline, I truly am grateful to be on this journey with all of you. I invite you to remember the ancestral math that we considered a few weeks ago, that you have 2 parents, you have 4 grandparents, you have 8 great-grandparents, you have 16 great-grandparents, and it just goes up from there. That is the great cloud of witnesses that is encouraging our living in this time.
Our chalice lighting words are by the Reverend Egbert Ethelred Brown, an early Black Unitarian minister ordained in 1912. As we kindle the chalice flame, let us hear these words by Reverend Brown. As we face a troubled and puzzled world, we too are troubled and puzzled. As our fond dreams remain unrealized and our bright hopes of yesterday wither, in the bitter disappointments of today, our courage fails, our spirits droop, our faith trembles, and frustrated, we bow our heads in despair. Nevertheless, we come to this hour in this sacred place as we seek to recommit ourselves to peace in our time. May we first be at peace with ourselves and one another. May we know that without love, there will never be peace. Teach us, therefore, to love.
There's a quote from Parker Palmer's book, Healing the Heart of Our Democracy, that has stuck with me since I first read it many years ago. He writes, "There are 2 ways for our heart to break, apart into many shards like a fragment grenade, or our heart can break open into greater capacity so that we can hold life's inevitable tensions creatively instead of destructively. These words point us towards a vision that Palmer calls the politics of the brokenhearted. I think some of us can feel that tonight, the politics of the brokenhearted. He continues, when we don't know how to hold tensions, the heart explodes like a grenade. And we sometimes want to throw that hand grenade at the one we've identified as an enemy. But a new habit of the heart would allow us to take that broken-hearted experience in a new direction, not toward the shattering into a million pieces, but to a heart that grows larger, more capacious, more open to hold both the suffering and the pain of the world. Within us is a yearning for something better than divisiveness, better than toxicity, better than passivity, better than passivity, better than selling our democratic inheritance to the highest bidder. Within us is the courage to pursue that yearning, to hold life's tensions conscientiously, faithfully, well, until they break our heart even more open. Tonight, I want to give each of you an opportunity to share the feelings that are weighing on your heart. We also want to provide a time of deep listening in which we are invited to witness one another's pain. First, I want to invite us to pause for just a minute or so of silence. And during this time, I want to invite us to take a deep breath in and out. This day has been so much. This day has been too much. Breathing it in and out. Allowing yourself to settle more fully into this time, in this place, into yourself, into connecting with the others in this room, to the sacred that is present in this time and in this place. Noticing the feelings that are rising up for you in this moment, in this election season. We'll pause for about a minute of silence. In a few moments, you'll be invited to come forward if you feel led to do so, to say your name, to briefly share what are you feeling? What is on your heart? Then, if you would like, you may light a candle. We'll start on this side. I'll light our first candle from the chalice. And then you may light a candle to symbolize the release of your reflection into this compassionate community. I know there is a lot to say. And this is the first of 2 times of open sharing that we will have this evening. Both will be about 20 minutes or so. To shape this time, I'll invite you to keep a few things in mind. I'll invite you to use I statements, to just to speak for yourself and for your direct experience, to keep your reflections fairly brief to make room and space for others who may want to share, and to let everyone share at least once before anyone shares more than once. So as you feel led, I invite you to come forward. There's a mic here to say your name, to briefly share what is on your heart, and then again to light a candle as you feel led, to symbolize the lifting up of your concerns within this compassionate community. So come forward as you feel led. I've been reflecting on how we learn to tell the story of our political awareness. And I'm older than I used to be. I used to tell people that I was born the year after Star Wars came out. So 1978, right? Right. And so the first president I remember is Ronald Reagan, who deeply effed this country. We don't have time to get into it, but we went really awry at that point. And I think my first real jerk of political consciousness came in graduate school when the Supreme Court stole the election from Gore. I remember being at a watch party and thinking Gore was going to win. And I drove home to my apartment, and then I turned back on the television, and things went sideways. And so much from all who were killed in the Iraq War, so much flowed from that. Climate change, so much. And I think about my 16-month-old son, who is Black and Korean, or Blasian, as the kids say, Black and Asian. And how proud I would have been to able to tell him that we elected the first Black and Asian president of these United States, and a woman. That's not the story that he's gonna inherit. He's, in the same way that I came to political consciousness under Reagan, my assumption is that he will come to political consciousness under Trump. That is what it is. So we can only respond to that. We can only answer the call to love, to defend, to leverage everything within our power to defend those who need defending in such a time as this. There's a lot more to say, and a lot more will be said. For now, holding all of this in our heart, let's rise and embody your spirit. Let's sing together. Opening your heart to the truth of this song. It's in your handout. It's also in your hymnal, number 95. There is more love somewhere. During this election season, our country has been torn apart by hate, by division, by fear-mongering. Many of us have experienced hurt from damaged relationships, from loved ones, from friends, from coworkers who have seen things differently than we have in this season. We are living in a time of great uncertainty. We fear for ourselves, for historically oppressed groups, for people living on the margins of society. We fear for our children, for our grandchildren. At the same time, let us not lose sight, and this feels hard to say, let us not lose sight of what we remain grateful for, of all that truly remains good and true and beautiful, even in such a time as this. In the words of my colleague, the Reverend Molly Gordon, humans in Western culture often need to fear like there is some upward arc to history, some promised arrival in order for there to be meaning in our lives. But the place we are going is just around the sun. That's the only place we've ever been going. On this miracle of a planet. And I want to tell you, we're still alive on a world that is so beautiful and so brutal, all at once. And that's all that it's ever been. And it is all drenched in meaning, no matter where it's headed. And it matters that we love each other well, and that we drink up the beauty, and that we resist the brutality. And in that spirit, similar to our candle lighting ritual earlier, in a few moments we will pause again in the minute or so of silence. I invite you to notice, to be present in real time with real curiosity. Notice if a word or two words or a phrase bubbles up within you that speaks to how do you feel led to move forward in the days ahead. And after the silence, you'll be invited to come forward, and as you feel led, you can light one of these votive candles on my left, on your right, to briefly share your word or a phrase and a short explanation of that meaning for you. And light that votive candle to symbolize your sacred intention for the days to come. But for now, let's enter into a minute or so of silence. And again, notice, open yourself with real curiosity. How do you feel led? What word or two or phrase comes to mind? It's perhaps too early for this point, so I'll beg your forgiveness if it is, but one of the, again, the older I get, the more interested I have gotten in history. And part of what I'm holding in my heart today, and I guess I'll say one thing first, that part of what I was encouraging people to do is to vote for Harris, if for nothing else than harm reduction. You know, to do less harm than I now fear will come over the next 4 years. But taking the long view, and I don't, again, I fear going here too quickly, but I will just say part of what I sometimes remind myself of is that here in 2024, we are less than 100 years from which, like, Hitler was Chancellor of Germany. And I can't actually remember who the dude is that's Chancellor now, but like Angela Merkel is who I remember. You know, it's like Angela Merkel is the same position that Hitler was in Germany. And Japan is like our ally instead of like Pearl Harbor. It's less than 100 years. Now, terrible harm happened. Don't get me wrong. Terrible harm may be coming. But I promise you this, the pendulum swings. The pendulum has swung further than I hoped it would swing. It will swing back. And we will be there together when it does. So if I had to name my two words, they would be resistance and resilience. And the two quotes I want to pair with that are from the scholar and journalist Sarah Kendzior. First, she writes this: I don't believe in hope. I don't believe in hope, and I don't believe in hopelessness. I believe in compassion and in pragmatism and in doing what is right for its own sake. And that is something that is sorely missing, I think, in the leadership we're going to see in the next 4 years. I want us not to fail to remember how important it is to do what is right just because it's the right thing to do. She also writes, and this is what she wrote a few days after Trump's first election in 2016. She said this: I want to invite you to write down what you value. Write down the standards that you hold for yourself and the standards that you hold for others. Write down your dreams of your future and your hopes for your children. You still have freedom, so use it. Do not accept brutality and cruelty as normal, even if it is sanctioned by the highest office in the land. Protect the vulnerable and encourage the afraid. If you are brave, stand up for others. If you cannot be brave, and often it is hard to be brave, be kind. But most of all, never lose sight of who you are and what you value. Please also be gentle with yourself in the days ahead as you are able. I promise you, here at UUCF, we will be part of the resistance, but also give yourself permission to lament, to grieve. Get out into nature. Get out of your head and into your body. Take a walk. You don't have to do this alone. We're in this together, and we are stronger together.
As we extinguish the chalice flame we have kindled this hour, I invite you to hear these words by Amaha Casa, founder of African Communities Together. I'm exhausted and sad and scared. Life just got a lot worse for me, the people I love, and the immigrant members of my organization. But if millions of enslaved Africans who lived as human property and tens of millions of my people in Ethiopia who live under totalitarianism and hundreds of millions of undocumented and displaced and colonized people who live without any country to call their own can survive and take risks and fight back and win, then we, with all the legal protections and institutions and wealth and technology we have at our collective disposal, can do no less.
Prepare to go into the rest of this night and into the week to come and the days and the years that are before us. Our invitation, our challenge is to continue our journey with love, to care for one another, to care for this one earth, to do justice, to make peace. And whatever taste or touch you've had in this time and place, any glimpse of just a little more love or peace or hope or joy, that truly does go with you out into the world. We are different for having spent this time together. May you live boldly. May you live with thanksgiving. And in that spirit, please rise, embody your spirit. Let's sing together. The words are on your handout. We shall overcome.